You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Massive human trafficking. It's a record 288 people arrested.
They're not reporting the real numbers.
The numbers are segmented and they are fictitious.
I started my career in 1997 in the United States Border Patrol. It was one of the most violent times in recent Border Patrol history. I made my bones and my reputation on that border. I believe what is happening on the border today is intentional.
We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them.
Our own government is facilitating the absolute destruction of the American immigration system, and I can prove it point by point. I'm unafraid to speak the truth. This is just data-driven and experience-driven.
Who the hell was Pope Francis? Earlier today I found out about the Pope's passing, and I, as a Catholic, I pray for his soul's redemption. But while the mainstream media are mourning for him as the humble Pope, I have to tell you the truth. Pope Francis was a puppet of the left-wing establishment, dancing to the tunes of globalists like George Soros, who is essentially responsible for his entire career. From pushing woke ideology to glorifying COVID vaccines, opening borders and slamming the right, especially Donald Trump, whom I think most of us Christians agree was probably saved by God himself, Pope Francis was the Vatican's weapon to dismantle Christianity from within.
Francis, and we are just getting some breaking news now of the official cause of death of the Pope, that he had a stroke early this morning. He went into a coma. He had a heart attack.
How did Jorge Mario Bergoglio become the Pope in the first place? Leaked emails from WikiLeaks and DCLeaks reveal that George Soros' Open Society foundations put hundreds of thousands of dollars into influencing Francis's 2015 US visit. Their goal was to create a critical mass of Catholics and bishops to push socialism and shift the 2016 election toward Hillary Clinton. Soros operatives bragged about their dialogues with Vatican cardinals. Their goal was to use Francis as their propagandist. They saw him as their puppet in the Vatican, and he delivered. Soros' ally, Jeffrey Sachs, spoke at least 25 times in the Vatican under Francis and drafted papal documents on climate change and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The Vatican became a revolving door for Soros' green globalists. Francis turned the church into a cheerleader for the left's socialist agenda. He welcomed transgender groups into the Vatican, signed documents confirming that transsexuals could be baptized, and praised figures like Emma Bonino, a radical abortion advocate tied to Soros' Open Society Foundation. Then there's mass migration. Pope Francis became the global voice for unrestricted borders, calling for the right to migration and the destruction of state sovereignty. He condemned walls, like Donald Trump's wall, and called migrants the builders of bridges, which perfectly aligns with Soros' Open Society's push for open borders. But this was not compassion. This was a deliberate attack on the West's cultural foundations. And don't forget about the COVID vaccines. Pope Francis didn't just support them, he glorified them. In 2021, he called getting vaccinated an act of love, and thus emotionally blackmailed millions of Catholics across the world into compliance. He even partnered in his Vatican with a Google-funded initiative to counter misinformation. Misinformation that later turned out to be true. The Pope had no love for the political right. He blasted Catholic conservatives as backward. When Francis met Donald Trump in 2017, he called his Paris Climate Accord exit a slap in the face. Yet he never praised Donald Trump for his peace efforts in the Middle East and between Russia and Ukraine, or his pro-life stance. Yet cozying up to Bill and Hillary Clinton and Alex and George Soros shows us where his true loyalties lay. I care about this, especially as a German, because the former Pope Benedict was a German, and I have a lot of respect for him. Surprisingly, he stepped down, and the motives are still quite unclear to this day. And therefore, I have made it my mission, my goal, together with my Christian German colleagues from Deutschland Kurier, to expose this story. The Christian Church was hijacked by Soros' money, woke dogma, open borders fanaticism, vaccine worship, and contempt for conservatives. Christianity was under attack from within, and Pope Francis was their Trojan horse. I am a Catholic, but I am brave enough to speak the truth.
Di voi giovani, di questi qui, no? È la capacità del dialogo interreligioso.
One of the things that struck me about all of you here is your ability to engage in interreligious dialogue.
E questo è molto importante.
And this is very important.
Perché se voi incominciate a litigare, la mia religione è più importante della tua, la mia è la vera, la tua non è vera, dove ci porta questo?
Because if we start to fight amongst ourselves and saying, my religion is more important than yours, my religion is true, yours is not, where will that lead us?
Dove?
Where will it lead us?
Qualcuno risponda, dove?
Someone respond. Where would it lead us?
Forte.
Dell'istituzione.
E cosa così? E ci vuole litigare.
Yes, it's okay to discuss and to...
Tutte le religioni sono un cammino per arrivare a Dio.
Because every religion is a way to arrive at God.
Sono, dirò una comparazione, sono come diverse lingue, diversi idiomi per arrivare lì.
Sort of a comparison, an example would be they're sort of like different languages in order to arrive at God.
Ma Dio è Dio per tutti.
But God is God for all.
E come Dio è Dio per tutti, noi siamo tutti figli di Dio.
And if God is God for all, then we're all sons and daughters of God.
Ma il mio Dio è più importante del tuo.
But my God is more important than your God.
È vero quello?
Is that true?
C'è un solo Dio lì. E noi sono idiomi, cammino, lingue per arrivare a Dio.
There's only one God, and each of us is a language, so to speak, in order to arrive at God.
Qualcuno è Sikh, qualcuno è musulmano, qualcuno hindi, qualcuno cristiano.
Women, and they are all going today on a bus to the Vatican to have lunch with Pope Francis.
On Sunday, the pontiff hosted a lunch for more than 1,000 people to mark the Catholic Church's World Day of the Poor. Francis's friendship with the Torvayanica trans community began during Italy's strict COVID-19 lockdown, when Father Andrea Conocchia found sex workers showing up at his church asking for help to survive. The Vatican stepped in, providing food, medicine, hygienic supplies, and even vaccines.
Noi siamo sido marginados per sempre. Papa Francesco nos ha dado sempre una mano. En la pandemia non nos ha fatto mancare nulla di speciale, unico.
Claudia Victoria Salas and Laura Esquivel were given a seat at the Pope's table.
Le ho detto che sono molto contenta, che sono lì seduta a tavola con lui a fare un pranzo.
Where do we even begin on today's episode? The Catholic Church, which I am a devout member. I love my faith. I detest the facilitators of my faith. The Pope, I believe that, as he stated, all of the sons and daughters on earth are the sons and daughters of God. I believe that. I believe that God loves all of us and created all of us. He is the master of the universe. He created everything. However, when you are the Pope of the Catholic Church, the Christian faith, some would say the leader of the Christian faith, you either believe that there is one way to God, as his son, Jesus Christ, said, or there isn't. That's blasphemy, what he just said. Absolute blasphemy. And this is just one of hundreds of his speeches or his talking to. Who's going to take over the Catholic Church? 135 cardinals are going to make that decision. 109 of those cardinals were appointed by him. I'm bringing in a guest in about 3 minutes, Dr. Christopher Mannion. And he wrote this book. I'm going to hold it up. I'm going to show you. Charity for Sale. Charity for Sale, about the Catholic Church. And he denotes historically how we got to this point. And I'm not an expert on this, but I am I can speak to this very well from the immigration perspective, and it ties into what Dr. Mannion is going to speak to us about. And as I read his book, it's incredible read, you realize how corrupt my institution of the Catholic Church is. Corrupt to the core. Absolute. And the linchpin to all the corruption, especially in the Western Hemisphere, is the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. And I've said that for decades. Do you know, and I have not seen anything to controvert this statistic, and maybe the doctor will be able to correct me if he needs to, but and I've been looking for the data on this, and it kind of hit it after this was pronounced. 90% of the Catholic bishops are registered Democrats. Square that with me somehow, would you? Square that how any Christian could be a Democrat. But when you read his book and you listen and you read my writings and see and read my books about Catholic charities and the Catholic Church, it's very obvious how this happened. The Catholic Church sold her soul for 30 pieces of silver to the federal government. Absolutely. There is so much that I want to talk to this author about. I mean, endless. I stopped putting the sticky notes on. I had to take them all off because it was just, I couldn't even do the pages, because every time I read a page, it's like, okay, need to talk to him about that. Got to talk to him about that. I read a post, a Catholic priest posted on X, and he said, this is prior to Francis dying, he says, when we have a new pope, it is absolute paramount that we get a pope on the same level as Donald Trump, meaning an absolute guy that's going to come in with the Doge and everything else and clean it, scrub it. I believe that. Before I bring Dr. Mannion in, I want to talk about our first sponsor, bellagrace.com. Shop bellagrace.com/truth. Caleb, I don't know if you have the new commercial on Bella Grace. I think it's great. If you do have it, you can go ahead and play it. I love this company. I love their product. Shop bellagrace.com/truth. Okay. And it's okay. I'm talking to Caleb. It's okay. If you don't have it, no big deal. I'll just talk about Bella Grace just for a minute, and just let me know when our first guest comes in. I appreciate it. Well, shopbellagrace.com they just say, hey, for our Elixir, it's do a 30-day trial. Just try it. And Brandon House and Melissa House swear by it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. Let me see how it works, because I'm going to promote this product. Let me see. And it's amazing. It's amazing. I see a mark on my arm that's not there anymore. I'm looking at my right arm. I had like a eczema there or something, and it couldn't get rid of it. Tried everything. And I'm taking this, and it is helping my immune system, helping my gut. Support the people that partner with us to keep our show on. shopbellagrace.com/truth. Thank you. I'm waiting on our guests, but I can go on forever about, you talk. Okay. Hey, you know what? Caleb has this new commercial I want to play for Shop Bella Grace. Let's go ahead and play it, please.
Start your day with the glow that comes from within. Introducing Bella Grace Elixir, a beauty secret that nurtures your skin from the inside out. Packed with natural ingredients, Bella Grace helps collagen production, reduce fine lines, and restore your youthful glow. And the best part? Bella Grace is perfect for your busy life. Take it with you on the go wherever you go. Bella Grace Elixir. Discover the secret to timeless beauty. To get your hands on this product, go to www.shopbellagrace.com/truth.
That is someone I know dearly, and she swears by this product as well. So shopbellagrace.com/truth. I want to play you people are now coming out and saying they're saying this bishop or this cardinal needs to be the Pope. And here's one that people are pushing out and saying this man needs to be the next Pope. Do I believe he will? No. I believe we will get someone like Francis, maybe worse, maybe more progressive. Go ahead and play this. This is the person that on this snippet alone that I would raise my hand and say, yes, please consider this man.
Yes, this is very serious. Now we are witnessing an invasion. They are not refugees. No, this is an invasion of mass Islamization of Europe, which already went on for at minimum 50, 60 years, the Islamization in Europe. But now it is in mass. It is very evident. And so this is a global political agenda by the powerful of the world to destroy Europe culturally and religiously. I mean, to destroy Christianity ultimately in Europe, with the help of the massive Islamic population. And I was reading recently an article of a sociologist who made a calculation that maybe in 30 or 40 years, when it's now going on, so the majority of the population of Europe will be Islamic. Europe will be Islamic when this will go on, because the European people have almost no children, 1 or 2. The Muslims there, they have 5, 6 to 10 children. And so it is, you can only make mathematics, and then you can see that they will be in the majority.
How about a little truth? How about, hey, finally, I don't hear that at my church. Come on. How about some truth? How about our whole world is being sold out? Why is it okay to bring in tens of millions of people from the third world and completely obliterate the Western European nations? Why is it okay to do the same thing in America and upend our demographics and call it progress? Is Japan doing this? Is Mexico doing this? Do you think Iran is allowing this to happen? You pick the poorest country in Africa. They're not allowing this to happen. When you begin to understand the religious organizations, and I'm speaking specifically about the Catholics today because, and I don't know where my guest is. I think we're having a little technical difficulty, but because this book is so powerful and Catholic Charities is one of the top religious organizations that have partnered with the federal government to destroy America. But I could talk about the Jewish Family Services, HIAS, Lutheran Family Services, Seventh-day Adventist. This author makes the correlation or connects the dots, as I did in my book and in my writings, that Catholic Charities, which is tied to the hip of Catholic Church, don't anybody tell you anything differently, received from 2009 to 2024 conservatively $5.2 billion. Conservatively. Everyone believes that is the bottom of the number. What else? What other expenditure did the Catholic Church have that wrecked their financial standing, wrecked their standing in the world morally? Well, that would be the priest's sex abuse, raping children. How much did that cost? Conservatively, and it's hard to conservatively, $5.2 billion. Do you think that's just a coincidence? You think it's a coincidence that they brought in $5.2 billion and paid out $5.2 billion? Do you think the Catholic Church just came up with that number, smuggled this book that this man wrote, and he is in the belly of the beast in the Catholic Church? He was in the Senate Foreign Relations committees on the Hill. He was in this world. And you know what? He makes a connect the dots, and this is a powerful connection that someone outside can't make, but someone on the inside or somebody that, like me, that deals with this knows that the Catholic Church and the bishops, the head of the bishops, will not denounce illegal immigration, will not denounce the cartels, the human trafficking, the sex trafficking, will not denounce any of it. Why? Because the human smugglers like coyotes, the cartels, are in bed with the Catholic Church. Well, why is that? Because the Catholic Church needs bodies to be put in their refugee settlement program that the federal government backfills with $1 billion of grants. That is how much collusion, how much evil has seeped in to the Catholic Church and seeped in to the bishops. I'm not talking about the lay people. I'm not talking about me and my brothers and sisters going to church and supporting our faith and living out God's word. No. I'm talking about the facilitators, the Pharisees of today. If we do not get a pope that is a hardliner, a man that will follow the teachings of Christ, not the Paris Climate Accords, not unfettered illegal immigration, not you need to wear a mask like an idiot and get 1,000 shots on some fantasy vaccine, or you're not a follower of God. A man that will come in and go through the vessel of child sex trafficking, the vessel of child rape, which is sitting at the top tier of the Catholic bishops in the United States of America, that exempted themselves. Do you know this? This is what I learned. I didn't know this, but I read in the book, exempted themselves from all the protocols, all the checks and balances that the church placed on the diocese and the priest. Why? Because, as this gentleman, Dr. Christopher Mannion, said, it was a tiny percentage of priests that were raping children, but it was almost all the Catholic bishops that covered it up. Let me repeat that again. It was a tiny percentage of priests that were raping children, but the significant majority, the mass percentage majority of the bishops in the United States of America covered it up. All of them. And I will go one step further, is the same thing that's happening in our government. Not everybody's a pedophile, but everybody knows who the pedophiles are, and they remain silent, or they're complicit in it, and their silence makes them complicit and allows them to be coerced and blackmailed. The exact same thing happened to the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. These are our leaders, the leaders of our faith here in America. The vast majority covered it up. The other significant or smaller percentage that did not cover it up, they knew it was being covered up, and they remained silent, and they were blackmailed. And I have said this, and people have scoffed at me, and now it's coming to be actual fact. There is a massive homosexual subculture within the Catholic priest, inside their rectories, inside their seminaries, inside the bishops and the cardinals. I showed you a short clip. And I remember when this happened, I recoiled immediately, was the Pope bringing in busloads of transvestites. And I didn't say anything when it first came out. I shut my mouth because I was saying, okay, well, maybe he's going to do what Jesus did. Jesus met with the tax collectors, the cheats, the prostitutes, the sinful, the sinners. We're all sinners, right? I get that. But Jesus didn't say, hey, come sit down, break bread with me. We're all the same. Just keep doing it, doing what you're doing. It's okay. Keep selling your body, stealing people's money, slandering people, committing adultery. Keep doing it. It's no big deal. Let's just break bread. I'm just going to hang from a cross and die just for no reason. No, that's not what happened. He brought them in and broke bread with them and said, sin no more. Meaning he sat there and said, what you are doing is wrong. And if you continue, you will not get salvation. You'll go to hell. You'll go to hell. Same thing he says to me every day. JJ, you keep doing this, you're going to go to hell. Or you're going to have to stop. You're sinning. Stop sinning. I didn't hear that from Pope Francis. I didn't hear him bring these transvestites in and saying, hey, this is wrong. No, he didn't say that. So by him not saying it, he creates the illusion that it's all okay. It's not okay. We have a church that's falling apart. We have dioceses in America that are bankrupting, claiming bankruptcy in order to shield themselves from future payments from raping children. And do you know what the people that are running my church say? Well, there's so many fraudulent lawsuits that we don't even know which one's real or not. Guess what? Damn it, make them all real. I don't care if you have a couple lawsuits that are frivolous and we can't determine if it's real or not. Guess what? Suck it up, Catholic Church. All of them are real. And if that means we sell every single church of ours, sell them all. The real Catholics will show up and we'll have it in a parking lot. And we wouldn't have a problem with it. We would be hateful. We'd be so much anger at our bishops and our pope and our cardinals. Absolutely. And rightfully so. But I'm not angry at the people that got raped. And I'm not going to tell them, hey, you know what? Sorry, we're bankrupt. You're not getting any more money. Sorry. I know we covered it up. I know as a bishop, I took a priest that was a savage pedophile raping children in Boston and shipped him to California and told everybody, hey, you're getting a new priest here. He's wonderful. Oh, great. Father so-and-so, come in. Having no idea that you just took a rabid, sexual, deviant savage that was raping children in Boston and the East Coast and shipped him to California. Then he starts raping children there. But don't worry, I actually sat in a church in California 2 years ago. And this was the homily from the priest, and a priest that I know and that I respected. And he's put in a very, very, very hard spot. And he gave his homily on the tithing. And this was from the bishop, McElroy, who is a piece of trash that is now serving in Washington, D.C. Interesting that Pope Francis puts this guy in there. Full on opens borders, full on homosexuality is okay in the church, and full on, everyone's a bigot and a racist and blah, blah, blah. Perfect guy. Perfect guy for the position. Well, he was reading a letter from this guy, McElroy, and his homily was, whatever money that you put into the collection plate from here on out will be separated from all the sex trafficking, the sex rape, everything that happened in the Catholic Church, because we're now been able to separate those funds from the bankruptcy. And I remember sitting there thinking, are you kidding me, man? We have individuals and families that their whole life has been destroyed. I don't care what you think. Well, they'll get over it. Really? You're a 10-year-old boy, 15-year-old boy, 16-year-old boy, an 8-year-old boy. You're being raped and groomed by the man you're looking at that's supposed to be the direct line from Jesus. And it's supposed to be giving you God's word. And in turn, you groom him, and then you sexualize him and then rape him. You think that young man's going to grow up and be okay? Honestly. And then you're going to sit there and tell me, well, we got great lawyers. Don't worry, we're going to see all this great work, artwork. You see these beautiful buildings. Yeah, we're not going to give those poor bastards a silver dime. I can go on forever on this topic. They make me so sick. And I got asked this the other day by someone that I respect religiously, not a Catholic. And he said to me, when are you going to leave the Catholic Church? And I'll be very honest with you, I have been struggling. And yet at that moment, it became extremely clear to me that I'm not leaving because these people are not my faith. They are not the church either. They're just disgusting demons. And why would I leave? Why would I leave? What did I do wrong? No, those sick sons of bitches, they gotta leave. They gotta go. All you homosexual priests, all you sexual deviants, all you everything, all you pedophiles and child rapists, you have to go. I'm not leaving. I'm not taking my family from my faith and my church. That's going to be my help that gets me to heaven and my son to heaven and my wife to heaven. I'm going to leave. Why should I leave? It's like people telling me I'm going to leave America. I'm going to move out of. Why am I going to move? Why am I going to leave when socialists and Marxists and communists have taken over our country? Why don't they leave? Why am I not making them leave? So no, I'm not leaving my faith. That's what a coward would do. No, I'm going to change it. I'm going to root out the child sex predators. I'm going to root them out. I don't care about homosexuality. You want to do what you want. You want to do whatever you want. Fine. But you can't be a Catholic priest. You can't be a Christian and be a homosexual and be acting out your homosexual acts. It doesn't work. That's not my faith. If you want to create a religion that is all inclusive, all the sexual perversions and everything, that's fine. Go do that. You're welcome to do that. But this is my faith. You don't get to come in and change the Bible. You don't get to do that. You want to write your own Bible? You want to write up, have 5 gospels and all that? You want all that? Go write it. Create it. And go do it. You'd have high priests that are lesbians and transsexuals. Have at it. You don't get to come in and take my church. You don't get to come in and change thousands of years of tradition, beliefs, and doctrines to fulfill your sick sexual perversions. You don't. You don't get to create open borders. You don't get to do anything except preach the Bible as it's taught, as it's written, handed down from God. That's your responsibility, you sanctimonious bastards wearing your stupid hats and your flowing robes. Do you understand? Do you not? You are the theologians of the day, meaning you have access to everything, the greatest teachers of the Bible and understanding it. And it is lost on you that you are the Pharisees of today. You are the ones wearing the flowing robes and the stupid hats. God never expected or ever envisioned people like you to be in positions of power and authority and to be having maids and cooks and drivers and have everything paid for. You have no worries. Everything's upside down. I'm living in the twilight zone. In American twilight zone, in a Catholic twilight zone, and that goes for all the religions, not just the Catholics. I'm just saying this because I have the most intimate association, because this is my faith. I could talk about the Seventh-day Adventists to a degree, the Baptists, the Lutherans, the Protestants, the Mormons. My Catholic faith is now world-renowned for raping children. My Catholic faith is tied to the demons that I used to arrest on the border, the coyotes. My Catholic faith has sold everything in my faith for open borders. Where are my leaders of my Catholic faith with Canon Law 915 that talks about people in positions of authority and of power that constantly and abusively push abortion? Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi. I mean, I can just go on and on and on. Where is the same fervor? Where is the same discipline? Where is the same urgency to correct that insane behavior of abortion, and yet silence? But they're proponents of open borders against God's will. Why did God create nations? Do you think that's just because flippantly this happened? My guest is in, and I have 15 minutes of him, and I have so many questions for this author. His name is Dr. Christopher Manion. I hope I pronounced his name right. Manion. He works for, or is a part of the association called Catholics for Catholics. And this is his book, Charity for Sale. I read it cover to cover, and I will be honest with you. I took breaks because I was infuriated. Let's bring Mr. Manion in, and I just want to get started because I have so much. Sir, Doctor, welcome into my show, and this is such a powerful topic. I read your book, Charity for Sale. It coincides with a great deal of what I know, but I will be honest, I felt grossly ignorant reading the historical markers that you brought or you wrote about that brought us up to present day. That I think that we are in a very difficult time for the Catholic faith. So thank you very much for coming in. And could you just tell me how did you? This was about 17 years in the making, I believe, if I read about you correctly. How did you finally get to this point? What was the impetus that said, okay, I'm going to finish this book of such a great importance?
Well, we were discussing John Yep, the president of the Catholics for Catholics, we were discussing the contemporary issues, and he said, how did we get to this point? And I decided, well, now there's a task that I can apply my talents to. And I'd been putting together information about the past because of my own family history with Notre Dame, where my father taught 100 years ago, and my father's own experience with the early 20th century and Cardinal Gibbons and Catholic University and Woodrow Wilson, and the relationship of the Catholics with the American patriot, the sensation of the spirit of American patriotism, how it grew, and how different events from World War I to the New Deal under FDR to World War II and the sexual revolution and the opening of LBJ's Great Society, leading to what we have today until 3 months ago, the union of the American Catholic Bishops' Conference with the federal government as a non-governmental organization dependent for the majority of its funding on federal taxpayer money.
There is so much that I want to discuss with you, because you lay out, as you just said right then, the historical. We assume that this has always been the way it's been. It's not. This has been a slow burn, right? This has been a slow burn to this point. And I would like you to expand on that, the Catholic Charities, all of the NGO funding, and that is now being discovered or exposed. NGOs are now the money laundering mechanism the politicians are using for all faiths, not just the Catholic faith, but primarily in a Catholic faith and in all entities of politics. Could you maybe expand on how the NGO machine is being used by the federal government to actually handcuff and own the Catholic Church?
Well, the handcuffs are easy. Every federal grant has a stipulation that this money shall not be used for religious purposes. And so the program has to be secular. It cannot be religious. And I've talked to the folks at Catholic Relief Services about this, and they say, well, we don't proselytize. If you mention Jesus, that's proselytizing. If you say grace before meals, that's proselytizing. They see what we do. They see the good things that we do. And that is how we manifest. That's how we evangelize. Well, next door to them is one of their partners in the project from Jewish religious services, and another one from Lutheran social services, and another one from Planned Parenthood, but not working on the abortion issue, but on the family planning side. And the secular character of the program is uniform throughout all of those NGOs. They have the federal money, and so they can't use it to preach Jesus.
How are they? They have a lot of explaining to do to God when they go in front of him, because it is, and I'm not a theologian, but I'm not an idiot either. And there is a right? It doesn't, you don't have to be an idiot to not be able to understand this, is when God has given these men this incredible responsibility, he's expecting a ROI on that talent that he gave them. And for them to turn away from him and take money from the evil institution of government, and the government puts parameters on you that you cannot even speak about. The only reason why you are in existence is Jesus and God. It's mind-boggling. And what other thing that you talk about many things in this book, and I'd like you to touch on this, is and it ties right into the NGOs and money. Everything comes back to money. That the Catholic Church refuses to combat abortion and the politicians that do it. Why? Because the politicians hold the purse strings that facilitate the charitable money for the Catholic Church. Can you expand on that?
Well, and by the way, it's my fault because, like you, I'm an average Catholic layman, but I'm also an average computer user, and I didn't know where to look for the link. So I'd be glad to. I'd be glad to come back and start at the very beginning, because it took me 15 years, but believe me, it's been a lifetime growing up at Notre Dame and watching the church firsthand, close hand, during the sexual revolution when I was a barroom entertainer working my way through school. I saw it up close and personal, and I saw the changes and the impact of the Humane Vitae in 1968 teaching about, no, this is the Catholic teaching about sex. We've been repeating it for centuries, but it needs repeating now. The bishops fled from Humane Vitae because it was up against the whirlwind of the sexual revolution, as well as the whirlwind of the Vatican Second Council, which threw all the teaching of the church kind of up in the air to let it see what's settled, what's stuck, and not. So when I think that bishops are pro-life. I think that priests on the ground are pro-life. But I think that there is what Cardinal Dolan has called a laryngitis, a kind of, they're shy, if you will, almost embarrassed to come out and say, well, listen, men, go find a good woman and marry her and stay out of the bed until you get married. And when you do, have a lot of kids, be fruitful and multiply. I haven't heard that. We haven't heard that in a long time, because it goes against the grain of the culture, which is a powerful secular culture right now. And the church has fallen prey to it, especially in the 70s. It's trying to recover, but that was the worst century, the decade in the century, all the way through with the liberation theology, Marxism seeping in through what they now call social justice as an excuse for this moral teaching, which they kind of put in the bottom drawer. I do believe they still believe by and large, but it's just as important to them as the budget, as the welfare rolls, as other secular legislative enterprises, especially those that fund the operations of various church agencies.
You lay out a scenario where, and you spent time on Capitol Hill as a staffer, so this is not by any means a stretch. And you gave an example of a pro-abortion Catholic politician still being able to receive communion and no one challenging it, and you tied it to the Catholic sexual abuse scandal, which is the real thing, Catholic priests raping little boys and the bishops covering it up. And you put out an incredible discussion, if you will, of, hey, this is what it probably looks like. Hey, politician X is a full-on pro-abortion Catholic receiving communion. Why don't the bishop say you can't do it? Well, because why don't we have a congressional hearing on the laryngitis, if you will, to say that kindly, of bishops covering up the sex abuse scandal? And the bishops just say, okay, you win, uncle. Am I correct on that?
Well, I cannot look behind the mitre and see what's going on inside. But I do know, I worked with Joe Biden for several years on the same committee, Foreign Relations, and on judicial nominations. He was pro-life in 1972. Like in 1980, I think there were 43 pro-life Democrats on the House and Senate side and Capitol Hill. But as time went on, they became the abortion party. And because pro-life issues were compressed into social justice as just another social justice issue, like welfare payments and the budget, then the attenuation, the putting into the bottom drawer became easier and easier because, and this is the key, if someone comes out and says Joe Biden, as a priest friend of mine did in South Carolina, I'm sorry I can't give you the Eucharist. This was during the Biden's, this was the 2020 campaign. Biden did not receive the Eucharist. He complained and he said, well, the priest reported me. No, he didn't. But the priest had every right and the bishop backed him. But most bishops don't want to, as Cardinal Dolan said, I quote, don't go to the mat. They don't want to go to the mat on that because, you know, they're wrestling a pretty tough partner who's given them billions of dollars over the years, number one. And number two, who might say, hey, Ted Kennedy, what were you doing with that gal on the second floor of the La Brasserie, that lovely waitress on the table with your fellow senator, whom I will not name? No, they don't want to go there because the senators are going to say, well, you know, let's have a hearing and let's swear you in on with the penalty of perjury. Now, what was going on, Cardinal Mahoney, in Los Angeles that you covered up for years and waited out the statute of limitations? That hearing never happened. It will not happen. And the deal, if you will, I think it is not a written deal, might not even be a handshake. It's just an understanding. Now that the money has stopped, there's going to be a grinding of gears. I don't know which way it'll go. The book doesn't address the future, although I will say for all of us Catholics, the proper way to deal with these tribulations, get on our knees, pray, say the rosary, consecrate America to Our Lady, and put up with everything that's going on left and right, but bring the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the people who are desperate to hear it in the midst of a political cacophony that is frankly deafening to many souls.
You are right. And there was something you wrote in your book, and I will leave you on this, is that you said it's the diminishment of sin. And I agree with that. There is a thing called a slippery slope, and I believe that we have gone down this slippery slope where we've minimized sin and just made it to be, oh, it's okay. I'll explain it away to God when I go in front of him. Don't worry about it. I see that in the Catholic Church. I see that in our society and our cultural norms now in America, that sin is accepted, and at times it's actually cheerleaded. And I do believe I believe exactly what you said, sir. If we go back to the basics, meaning the basics, this is the Bible says, this is what it says. You have to either agree with it or move along. Get out, go build your own church, whatever that may look like. But our church, our doctrines say this. We don't get to pick and choose. This is what we believe, or we're supposed to believe. So you took on a massive challenge. I thought you did an incredible job of articulating the past of how we got to the present and the players that allowed this to happen. So I applaud you. I'll hold the book up because I know my producer's putting it up too. Charity for Sale. This is, if you are a Catholic If you are a Catholic, it is an absolute must read. But if you are just a believer, a Christian, or even a Muslim or a Jew, I think you need to read this, because there could be books written about your facilitators of your faith, how they sold out your faith to the federal government as well. So, sir, thank you so much for taking the time. And I would love to have you back on, or have you on a long-form interview, because I believe this is something that needs to be just walked out. Be an hour and a half interview. If you're ever up for that, you're more than welcome to do it, sir.
Well, I am, and thank you, sir. I want to tell you, your last point is very telling. There are other religions who are that how can I put it? Their brand name is being put on a secular NGO as well. Yes. That's why the title is Charity for Sale. I had to mull that over, but we're selling our Catholic brand as a seal of approval for what? Politics. I've been in politics a long time. It's tit for tat. Tit for tat. We're giving you this money. What are you doing for us? And that'll be a great start for our next conversation, which I look forward to.
I do too. Sir, thank you so much. You can find Charity for Sale at Amazon and all the bookstores. And it is Catholics for Catholics. That man, read this book. I took breaks. I did. I was like, I can't read this anymore. I need to punch somebody. I'm so angry. And there were things that I knew. But this is when you know you're reading a good book, is you're reading something that you know, like you're intimately involved. I lived it with Catholic Charities. I lived it with the open border bishops. I live with it. But this author gets into it so well, so detailed, that you're like, holy smokes, I did not know that. I did not know that. I did not know that. I did not know that person did it. I didn't know that how they did it. Wow. I just put all the pieces to that puzzle. Now I'm looking at the full picture, where I was looking at about 85% of it. Great book. Fast episode. Please go to our sponsors, bellagrace.com, sat123.com, petclub247.com. Support our partners, because this is how we get to do this. Or just go watch MSNBC. I'm sure they're going to have Dr. Mannion on there, talk about the Catholic Church and the collusion with the federal government. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they're going to talk about the NGOs. We are in a war. We are in a war for the soul of our nation. I think that's enough of a prize to fight for. I really do. I really believe that's enough. And if you don't think it's enough, then think about a world that we can continue on, that men can have babies. Men need tampons. You can change your gender. You can mutilate children. You can kill the baby at the 9-month. No, you can kill the baby as it comes out the vaginal canal. Kill it. Be prepared. Be as healthy as you can. Have everything you need to fight, because there is a war raging. You have to be involved, or you are going to be devoured from the right or the left, but you will be devoured. Fight for America. Fight for your soul. It's worth it. I promise you.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House. You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House. You're watching Worldview 2, built on